Greetings everyone and welcome to the BlastCast. I am Jarvis, with me as always is the guy who taught Zap Brannigan everything he knows, Lightning Dragon.
Indeed.
Alright, well let's go ahead and jump into Star Citizen news and get right to it. On Around the Verse this week, they showed off more of the space mining. Now apparently the more you overcharge the rock, the greater the drift on the individual pieces. They're going to make you chase them down, which makes sense because it is space, but you got to be careful even more so than in the atmosphere.
I sure hope the mining mechanics are a bit more refined by then.
Yeah, they said there's actually some revisions and they've been doing some updating. And you know, when you were mining, you were talking about how there was like this lag issue where you were having. I think they said they've been addressing that too.
Yeah, it's funny that we mentioned this because we have an oven that is analog, you know, like dials and stuff.
Yeah.
And when you're setting the timer, when you spin it, the longer you spin it, the more it'll change. Eventually it goes in, instead of being seconds, it goes to minutes. That reminded me of mining, now that we're talking about mining again. So you're scrolling your mouse wheel up and all of a sudden it goes from, you know, like 1 degree changes to like 10 degree changes. And it's like the oven, where instead of going, oh, I just want another 30 seconds here. Yeah, it's like 5 minutes. And you're like, no, I don't want that much time. But I mean, again, that could have been a latency thing.
I'm not having you do any cooking for me whatsoever.
I turn it back. I don't cook it for extra 5 minutes.
They also showed off a new sound focusing technique. Now, when human beings are in a crowded room or a noisy environment, you can kind of focus in on what you're trying to listen to. It's something you do unconsciously. Now, they're trying to mimic this effect by wherever you're looking, it'll kind of filter out the sounds of the other things you're not looking at and filter in or make the sound stronger the things that you are. This is going to be for conversations or maybe for music or anything they feel like. It's very interesting.
Yeah, I was just at a big show. Well, not huge or anything. It was not like 1,000 people or anything. Man, it was loud. It was uncomfortably loud. So I was actually in an environment just like that, where it's like, well, what's this person talking about? But it was so loud that you only picked out like every third word, or, you know, you could kind of follow the conversation. In a video game, being able to just look at something and just have everything else be ignored, I don't think that'd be that bad.
Yeah, and the odd thing was to me is that the forums were kind of, well, there's one particular thread and people are complaining about it, saying it's a waste of time for them to do this kind of thing. But, you know, I'll say this, we talk about a lot of things in the show and we give credit where credit is due. The sound guys have been killing it. When they showed off those metal canisters being knocked down, ramps and stairs, and the sounds they were making, and now working on getting audio focus, give this a chance. I don't see anything wrong with this. I think that the audio team has absolutely just been introducing a lot of very amazing techniques, and I look forward to seeing how it's implemented.
Don't forget about when they were showing off the damage states and how the different sounds would affect different areas of the ship. And
oh, yeah.
In the Idris.
Yeah, the sound guys are amazing. Now they just got to make the weapons and the engines more throaty, you know, a little bit deeper, a little bit more, you know, make them feel like they're shaking your very seat. And I think a lot of us will be a lot happier.
Crank that bass up to 11.
Exactly. CIG also showed off the way they're scripting NPC ships to land. It's a very interesting thing. They set the orientation of the ship. It basically nose up, nose down, when it rolls, when it pitches. So they can kind of script landing patterns for them quickly and efficiently. The thing is, when you watch this video, it caught my eye instantaneously, was they kind of make all the ships come in like 45 degree or so angled nose down. It looks really terrible. And I know it's a first implementation, but I really hope that's not something that stays. It needs to look a little bit more organic than that. It looks really weird to see a Starfarer coming down at 45 degrees and then suddenly pitch up and land. So a little tweaking there, but I like the overall concept.
Can we get AI ships that land like Saturday Night Fever? You know, disco balls come in, they land on the thing and do a strut and maybe break dance or something. I want to see that.
Well, with the scripting, you probably could.
That'd be ridiculous.
Reverse the Verse this week was all about prototyping gameplay. Calyx Renault showed off basically how you can make puzzles, quickly implement them into the game, and all the states that are involved to make them work. It's pretty interesting.
We can have Legend of Zelda?
You probably could, yeah. I don't see that would be a, you know. But mostly it was about how to make a colored, different kind of locked keypad. And I don't know, it's kind of interesting to watch. If you're into that kind of thing, give it a view. Let's jump into calling all devs. There's a couple questions here that caught my ears, so let's break it down. Can we get better joystick and gamepad support? Because things like mobiGlas, terminals, MFDs, and even turrets, they don't work too well with sticks and gamepads. Well, I thought it was kind of interesting because, you could kind of throw IM into that too. It didn't really come out into the question, but, that kind of goes without saying.
It's a secret.
Now, they said from a developer perspective, they want to get these MFDs and things, their basic functionality up and working, and it's easiest to implement that with the mouse initially. Because everyone owns a keyboard and a mouse, for them, that's going to be the priority of making everything work. Now, obviously, this means they're going to have to go back and do a lot of reworks after they get everything up and going. I find it still kind of odd that, well, for the most part, and it's felt like this for years now, that flight devices have felt like a secondary consideration in a game that was originally pitched primarily about flight. So hopefully they get this locked down, because while I don't mind reaching over and grabbing the mouse, it doesn't bother me in the least. I mean, it's right there. The thing is that there are a lot of people like, well, I'll give you an example. I can play Elite Dangerous with my TWCS throttle and T16000M, and the way they've set it up, every function on that ship can be mapped that I can use everything on that ship without moving my hands off of the HOTAS or the stick. It's really, really well done. Now, once again, as I've stated several times in the past, what CIG should do is take a look at what other games are doing and basically, for lack of better words, copy it. Obviously make modifications, but if something works well over here, there's no shame in taking a look at that and saying, yeah, let's see if we can apply that to our game with some little changes here and there.
There is one way you can look at this, and I'm kind of playing, I'm not saying really I'm playing devil's advocate, but I'm going against...
No, you're kind of devil's advocate just in your nature.
Well, one of the ways you can look at it is, you're making a game, go with me here, if you're making a game for a console, usually controls aren't high on the list. I mean, you remap things later on. In that regard, even on PC games and stuff that it had controllers or everything, most likely as the development team, you're going to work with keyboard and mouse because that's easier. And then later on the road, you're like, okay, this game was meant to be played with this, so we're going to move the controls over to that and make it work. On the same side of that argument, I'm going to destroy my counterpoint here because I'm sure people will make that argument, in that Star Citizen isn't a regular game, and the way they do things isn't like, Rockstar would, or BioWare, or any other larger game company. So it's kind of, I can understand it, but this isn't a regular game company.
Well, when you go back to games like, as I like to call it, X Stillbirth, and they found code in the actual game files that indicated very clearly that what they were trying to do with that particular game was to bring it out on consoles. I think they found Xbox code or Xbox files in there, and it consoleized the hell out of it. Anyone who's played, when I'll use the actual name, X Rebirth, knows that the game was pretty much garbage. And I know that the upcoming X, they're going back to their roots, and that brings a lot of hope. They really tried to turn a relatively deep sim-light series that had been running for a long time, loved by the fans, into kind of open up this market that honestly doesn't really exist for these kind of games.
Not on consoles.
No, not really. And that's my concern when I look at things that Star Citizen does, is that if they simplify things over here, like for flight, and then they have complex things over here. So Lightning, you had one here that you wanted to talk about.
I was looking at the notes here, and it's kind of like, ship lock mechanics not working properly. And I was like, ship locking? What the heck are they talking about? If you have an intruder on your ship and you decide to kill them, you get a bounty. And it's like, clearly it's not working like we want it. That was just a placeholder.
Yeah, it's not finished yet by a long shot.
A pain in the ass. How many times have we had someone randomly in our ship or try and kill us in our ship?
Oh yeah. We had a couple explore the first year that I was sitting in the cockpit, I think, of a Retaliator, and someone threw a grenade in there, and that's when the grenades were bugged, so it didn't kill me. But I pulled up my sniper rifle and blasted him in the hallway. But then I got like crime stats on me because of it.
So obviously it's broken, and they've addressed it. Yes, Retaliator.
Okay.
So it's nice that they're addressing this, but it couldn't come sooner.
Yeah. They said they need more pieces of the puzzle, like with grouping and things like that. And when that all starts to come together, they'll be able to better distinguish friend from foe. Like this ship may be tied to these people. We're all in the group, and then anyone outside of that is an intruder because they're not invited. So there's more systems that have to be built that are dependent upon getting that kind of thing right.
Just do the GTA kind of thing and have a star system. If you're out in the middle of nowhere and you space some dude, who's gonna know?
All right, another question was, once planets start orbiting their stars, how are they going to make the rest stops meaningful? Are they going to rotate with the planets? How are they going to maintain that position if they do? They're looking at this technique. It's called Lagrange points.
Lagrange points.
There you go.
I believe that's the correct pronunciation. I could be wrong.
No, you're absolutely right. I just can't speak today. So we're going to go with Lagrange points or whatever. You said it, we'll go with, that thing. They're going to be using those to help navigate with the changes on planetary location. It sounded like there was a couple ways they're approaching it, but I would imagine what they're going to do for simplicity's sake is eventually have stationary rest stops that are intermittent in different directions that you can go to. Now, my thinking on this to a degree is that might open up very interesting economic shifts. Like, for example, if all the planets are, say, on one side and there's rest stops on the other, you might find that the prices to sell stuff to those stations might actually be higher because people aren't going to them as frequently. So they're running short on supplies because of that orbital lapse, if you will, of business. You know, they could really get creative with that, but I think ultimately that's what they're going to go with, because I think trying to have all the stations and stuff moved to probably be a bit too much.
I am all for keeping them in a fixed position. This means, for example, if you get a mission to haul a crate of ducks, I don't care what it is, and you have to go to... I'd make a joke about DuckTales here.
I was actually, when you said crate of ducks, I went woohoo in my head. I didn't do it, but now I did.
I can't think of the name of one of the towns in the show, because that's the next thing. It'd be okay. So you're taking ducks to a town.
Duckburg.
Duckburg. There you go. And you go to Lagrange point 1 or something, but Duckbird's on the other side of the planet. Okay, well, obviously you want to go to a different planet or a different Lagrange point for to get easier to that city, because obviously if you're on this side of the planet, it'd be really hard to go there. So you jump back into Super Cruise and go to another Lagrange point. But having it like this, you could have kind of what happened in Eve, where you have Jita. Everyone goes to Jita. I never went there. I only went there once because it's like, oh, just go there. Their prices aren't good, and it's very dangerous. Go to Amar or something. But you could end up having very, very large like hubs where people just go here because it's like, oh, well, you know, the planet rotates so slowly that, you know, like 20 missions or something went through there during the last hour or something. So there's a lot of goods there. So it's generating a lot of missions to haul that to either planet side or to have it go to another area in system or across to another system.
And that's on the planetary scale, even like, but on like, you know, on the talking about on the receiving end, just on the shipping from rest stops. Like, they're going to need supplies. Rest stops aren't just going to be able to maintain everything without getting supplies. So, you know, as I said, as the stations get further from an actual planet, then you may find that they'll buy stuff from you at a higher rate just to pull in the extra traffic back into there. But yeah, I totally get what you're saying. Is like these kind of orbital shifts could actually be filtered into the economy to a degree and change traffic patterns. But that's really complex, and that's down the road. But there's a lot of potential here if they're smart about it.
I think having them fixed, there'd be no problem with that. I mean, not only would it be more difficult, like coding wise and game engine wise, to make it so they rotate with the planets, but there's nothing wrong with having them fixed, because a new type of gameplay would spring from that, where something becomes a really big hive of activity because it's centrally located and so much traffic is going in and out of there, or something that's in a planet or near a moon, you know, because the way Lagrange points work, that could end up being a big hub in that planet just because of the nature of the missions that come in. Kind of living universe. I don't really like that term, but it could make it feel more realistic, that you have activity more in certain areas because of where the planets are located.
Yeah, exactly. Well, yeah, it was also because of the fact that, you know, as they're rotating, they may get further or closer from jump gates. And what was a short trip 1 month could be a really long trip the next month, as the planet's on the not only far away on the opposite side of the system from where the jump gate is, because you have to go around the sun, you have to go away on the other side. Like last month, it was a 20-minute trip or an hour trip, whatever. This month, it's a 3-hour trip, or, you know, whatever.
A 3-hour tour.
So the point is that you may consider changing where you're going and why you're going there. I know we went off subject a little bit, but there's a lot of good possibilities here. But I really want to see those planets rotate, or at least orbit, down the road. Because I think, both of them actually, yeah. I want to see all that put together, because that will have those kind of massive changes in the game.
We both like it.
No issues. As many of you have probably heard, Evocati should be launching sometime this week. That, of course, means I'm going to be out there testing it, finding mistakes, bugs, errors, falling through planets, because that's what I do best.
Falling through ships.
Planets,
falling through
tables.
stations.
If it's not supposed to clip through it, I will find a way. That is my
teleported to the sun.
Yeah, I am no clip man. Now, unfortunately, this is the part where it gets tough, because during this process, I so much wish I could share this stuff with you guys. NDA, I can't do it. I will get my thoughts together. I will be ready to discuss all of it when it moves into PTU, which I imagine they're going to want to have that at least at Wave 1 by the time we get the CitizenCon. I don't think it's going to be fully open version. They like to say that the PTU is open for backers, which means that they're going to at least get the Wave 1. So I would say you're probably looking at access to the PTU 2 weeks after CitizenCon, at least for a large enough player base, maybe 3, but don't count on everyone getting in immediately by the time that CitizenCon happens. Right now we're at 3 weeks. It's going to take a lot of time to do that kind of bug reporting. That's just the nature of it.
Will it also take a whole lot of money?
Yeah, absolutely.
I don't know. Every time you say a whole lot of time, I think of the song, "A Whole Lot of Precious Time." I'm not going to sing anymore. We're done.
And the audience cheers. As a side note about CitizenCon, what I'm planning to do for that, because there are a lot of panels. Traditionally, what we've done on this channel is we've covered CitizenCon on a very large, very lengthy show.
Supercast.
What I'm thinking of doing this year, and I'd like to get your opinion on it down below, because of all the different panels and all the things going on, what I thought I would do is do a small show covering each panel, things in there that we found interesting, and release a show like that, a mini BlastCast along the way. This way, you can skip the shows about topics you don't really care about and watch the ones that you do. Now, the downside of this is I don't like flooding you with a bunch of videos, and I would probably release like one every day after CitizenCon just to kind of not put, here's 10 today in your inbox. That's obnoxious. I hate that crap when I get it from other channels that do it. How would you like to see that information distributed? Do you think just going through it maybe in the order that they have these panels one at a time and discussing it subject by subject would be okay, and releasing one video a day, we give you our thoughts? Or if you have any alternate suggestions, feel free to leave them down below, because this is kind of new territory for both of us. So this Thursday will be episode 3 of Arma 3 Apex, the Zap Brannigan strategy, where we take all of Zap Brannigan's combat skills and apply them to our combat methodology.
And AKA, there is a lot.
AKA respawning.
Whatever it is, I'm willing to put wave after wave of men at your disposal. Right, men? You suck!
Alright everyone, well, that's about it for this week's BlastCast. As always, leave your comments and suggestions down below, and we will catch you on the next one.
Bye-bye, everybody.